On a quiet winter night, Ahmed sat next to his elderly grandfather in a warm room filled with the scent of wood burning in the fireplace. The place was simple and humble, but the warmth of love radiating from his grandfather was enough to fill the room with warmth. Ahmed was a 15-year-old boy, eager for knowledge, always wondering what the things he was told meant. He had always heard people talk about strength and pride, about facing adversity and achieving victory, but he wasn't sure what it all meant. His grandfather looked at Ahmed with his deep eyes, which bore a long history of experience. In a calm, wise voice, he said, "My son, I see you often talk about strength and ask about it. Tell me, what do you consider true strength?" Ahmed hesitated for a moment, then answered, "I think strength is the ability to overcome others, to always be the strongest, so that no one can hurt you or defeat you." The grandfather smiled slightly and shook his head gently, then said, "That's what many people think, my son. But have you ever asked yourself, why does someone strive to be the strongest? Is it just to feel superior to others, or for something else?" Ahmed lowered his head slightly, trying to think about his grandfather's words. He wasn't sure what his grandfather was trying to convey, but he knew there was a great lesson behind them. The grandfather continued, "Ahmed, pride isn't in defeating the strong to prove yourself or satiate your ego. True pride is in supporting the weak, in being a helping hand to them when they need it, in using your strength, however small, to alleviate the suffering of others and help them." Ahmed was even more surprised by what he heard. He hadn't expected the meaning of strength to be any different than he'd thought throughout his life. He asked his grandfather curiously, "But Grandpa, how can supporting the weak be strength? Isn't it easier to ignore them or exploit their weakness?" The grandfather replied, his eyes shining with steely determination, "Of course, my son. It's very easy to exploit the weak, but true strength lies in the ability to resist this temptation and choose the harder path that requires justice and mercy, choosing to be fair in a world where everyone tends to exploit the weaknesses of others." Then the grandfather added, "Do you know, Ahmed, throughout my life I have met many men who were physically strong but weak in heart and mind. I have also met those who were weak in their bodies, but were strong in their chivalry and fairness to others." Ahmed smiled, beginning to understand the meaning of his grandfather's words. But the question that kept nagging at him was, "But how can I become truly strong?" His grandfather responded with an encouraging smile, "My son, strength isn't something you gain with a single blow or violent confrontation. It grows within you the more you help others and do justice to them. When you are a factor in achieving justice or alleviating someone's suffering, you become stronger. And when you realize that your strength isn't just a tool for imposing control, but a means of serving those around you, then you have understood true strength." Moments of silence passed as Ahmed pondered his grandfather's words. It was a lesson he hadn't learned in books or from the mouths of people, but rather from the heart of a man who had lived life, both ups and downs, and understood its profound meanings. That night, Ahmed realized that true pride lies not in defeating the strong, but in extending a hand to help the weak. From that day on, he decided to use his strength not to show he was the best, but to be a factor in changing the lives of those around him for the better.